You're listening to the Restoration Podcast, conversations of hope and healing. Join us as we talk about subjects dealing with ministry, faith, everyday life, and other hot topics. Our prayer is that these conversations bring encouragement to your life. Scott, how's it going?
Good. Doing good. Glad to be here.
So we talked about this on a previous episode, but you and I are still on our fitness health journey.
Yes, we are.
Thank you for that. And we alternate. We do like some kind of weight training, I guess, kettlebell, full body stuff. And then the next day is like a walking day.
Yep.
So what do you prefer? Do you wake up more excited to do the weight training workout or the walk run day?
So if I'm walking, I would rather do it after work.
And I like to do things in the morning.
But the workout itself, the weights and stuff, I wake up and I'm excited to do that before work because it gets me up, gets me ready, gets working out, doing that, get all that energy out, and then I come home, shower, and get ready for work, and I'm ready for the day. So the weightlifting, I like doing in the morning, but the walking, I like doing at night, especially because the weather we're in, it gets a little hotter at night, and it makes me sweat more, which makes me feel like I did more.
Right.
So, and it's just been really good.
Yeah. So I want us to talk about, we're a little late because we were not in podcast mode when this happened, but we're eventually going to share our thoughts on the Charlie Kirk assassination here. But first I want us to talk about what happened to us one day we were doing a walk. So we run every other day, right? Or I run, you walk. But every day we do a walk. So like when we're done with our kettlebell full body or whatever, we do a walk around the block, time permitting. Well, Scott and I were doing a post-workout walk, right? Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're doing a post-workout walk, and we do the same route every time. And we're along this main road, and it's a road that not only do we walk every time, but we drive down that road a lot to get to the highway to get home.
Every day.
And we noticed this one house. Even before this happened, I always noticed this guy that lived in this house. I was assuming alone, and I've seen him mow. I've seen him just walk around. I've seen him all the time. Well, Scott and I are walking one morning, and we see the guy, and he's like on the other side of the street, a very busy street, by the way.
He was like frantically trying to get across the street.
And so we're about to like pass him, and he quickly crosses the street, stops in front of us, and then what is he? Do you remember what he said?
He looks at Aaron dead in the eyes.
He looks at both of us.
And then he looked right at you, and he says, "Is your name Scott?"
And I thought he was talking to Scott, and I was like, "Yeah, his name's Scott." He's like, "No, you." And I'm like, "No, my name is Aaron, but his name is Scott." And I thought he would bite on that, but he didn't. He was more amazed that my name wasn't Scott than that Scott's name was Scott, the name he came to ask about. And then he proceeds to be like, "Oh man, I met this guy a long time ago in Lawton named Scott. You look just like him," referring to me. And I'm like, "I'm sorry to disappoint."
And then what did he say to me?
He goes, "What did he say?"
He looked at me and said, "I ain't never met anybody that looks like you."
Oh, yeah. He goes, "I met a guy that looks just like you," pointing to me, named Scott. "I've never seen anyone that looks like you."
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh. And so it was a long conversation, but to make it short, it was just kind of random. He asked about like what we do. And we told him we're pastors at Restoration Church. And he told us about his church he goes to. And then it was kind of funny because then he turned around and walked away from us, but he kept talking to us with his back to us. Like literally like he walked away, his back was to us, and he kept asking questions like, "Oh yeah, turns around. I met these one people from this other church, da-da-da." And he's like, "Guys, I like how your attitude or whatever." And he kept asking questions while we're walking awkwardly behind him.
Yeah.
And nice guy, and it was just kind of random.
It was so funny.
So
it was one of those things that I walked away and I was like, that was one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me. Because he, like you said, he was walking in front of us as if he was facing us. And at one point he turned around and started walking backwards, talking to us. And then we get to the end of this sidewalk, and then he just turns left and walks away. And then we just kept going on our normal path. And I was just like, that was such a weird experience.
It was so funny. And he was just so amazed that I was not Scott.
And I was.
And that you were. It was funny. But anyway, all that to say. So at the time of this, it was a few weeks ago where we learned about the Charlie Kirk assassination. I remember the day because I saw, it happened pretty quick. I saw that that he got shot.
Yep.
And they rushed to the hospital. And I told Tori, and she's like, "Oh, I know who that is. I watch him. Did you watch his stuff?"
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I followed him on Instagram.
Yeah.
My mom watched his show. Like his clips are awesome.
Yeah.
So I always kept up with him via social media.
So I saw that he got shot, and they rushed him to the hospital. And I mean, it wasn't very long after I come in the house, and I told Tori, I said, "Tori, he died." And she's like, "You're joking." I was like, "No, he passed away." And so then there was this immediate outpouring from conservatives and Christians saying stuff, using language of like, the church is under attack, Christians are being persecuted,
Yep.
which, is true. Then there was this, about a week following, there was like this huge movement of, I'm just being honest. It wasn't, let me make this clear. This was a terrible tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
This should not have happened.
Yeah.
This was wrong, right?
Yeah.
And we should be able to share our faith, without having to be killed, right? No matter if you're a Christian, whatever you are. That's why we live in America. We're freedom of speech, whatever.
Freedom of speech.
And I understand, that it was because he was a Christian, right? But about a week for that whole time after, and I want your opinion on this. Personally, I had a lot of friends who were conservatives or Christians that were being very loud online. And it turned from, in my opinion, a spirit of like mourning and sadness to a spirit of anger.
Yeah.
And attack. It
was like a spirit of support pouring out for his family.
Yeah.
The tragedy, because we all know what happened is wrong.
Right.
At the bare bones of it all, it was a family who lost their husband, a wife who lost their husband, kids who lost their father.
Yeah.
Which is sad. No matter what they believe, no matter who they are, that's sad. But I think one thing that happened with a lot of people is they became the people that posted, "I stand with Charlie Kirk, and if you don't agree with that, you can get the heck off my Facebook."
Yeah, it got
all
pretty
this
bad.
stuff, and it's just like, and I'm like, where do you find that in the gospel?
Exactly.
Where do you find that in the Bible where Jesus ever treated someone like that? Because I mean, Jesus gave up his life,
Yeah.
sacrificed his life for all of us, and still, when he died, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do."
Right. And so social media got really ugly.
Yeah, I was pretty well, and I was sad. I was upset that this happened, but I wasn't somebody. I'm not the kind of person when stuff like that happens that I post on social media about it. And it, for my personal reason, is because that's not benefiting anybody.
Right.
Me sharing my political opinion, me sharing my political things, that's not gonna help anybody be.
Right.
And there might be people on my Facebook that agree with me, but there might be people on my Facebook that disagree with me, that are lost, that are hurting, that need Jesus, and that might close the door to me being able to be a witness to them because I post something like that.
Right.
Now, there's people like Forrest Frank who posted, and he lost like 300,000, 30,000, whatever it was, followers, and that's sad. Those people made their decision, but Forrest Frank wasn't out there saying, get the heck off my profile, blah, blah, being rude and aggressive about it.
Right. And it's in those tough times when the world is watching closely how Christians react. And I'm ashamed to say some of these Christians were reacting not so kindly.
Yeah.
And it's funny to me too, because like when there's like a school shooting or a mass shooting, it's the same pattern. It's, Democrats or left people, whatever you want to call them, more liberal people, are always coming out saying, well, it's a gun problem. Let's change the gun laws, right? Mm-hmm. Conservatives, a lot of Christians, not all of them, always come out with this language. They say, this is not the time to be political. We need to mourn, let the people mourn. When the Charlie Kirk thing happened, the same conservatives that would usually say, this is not time to be political, they almost immediately made this political, blaming, leftists. And I'm like, it's just, social media had to stay off for a while because it got really ugly. And now it's dissipated a little bit. There's still some, passionate people here and there. There's also some weird trends. Again, it was a tragedy and sad. Remember what I told you about the Starbucks thing?
No.
There were people that were ordering Charlie Kirk's coffee
yeah.
order and asking them, when they asked for the name, they wanted it to be under Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what that does.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I personally don't. I like just like you said. I don't understand that because it's like, and that's like back to me posting on Facebook. You ordering that coffee is not benefiting anything.
Right.
You ordering that and putting his name on your coffee, that's not benefiting anybody.
Yeah.
And you can say, oh, it was to pay homage, but why don't you pray for his family instead?
Yeah.
Why don't you pray for them, pray for his wife, and
That prayer is going to go a lot further than that post
than you buying a coffee.
or buying a coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
that's just my thought.
And heeding to Jesus' teachings, he says, love your enemies, bless them back, pray for them. And this was such a testing time for Christians, saying that the church is being persecuted, which Jesus warns us of that as well.
Yeah.
That you will have trials, you will have tribulations, and you will be persecuted. I mean, Jesus himself, we're trying to be like Jesus, was crucified. He was called out for his stuff. And so, like, I worded it this way: that following Wednesday, Pastor Johnny was not here, so I had to run our Wednesday service, and so I did a short devotional. And what I said was, when I first learned that this has happened, it shocked me. But the more I sat and thought about it, it didn't really shock me. You know what I mean? Because, the world we're living in the last days, right? And the world is so backwards with certain things. And so things like this are just, I hate being a pessimist, but it's probably going to keep happening. Maybe not on this scale or this level, but, and then, it's also, they also had the memorial service, a funeral on a Sunday, record attendance, and a lot of people were watching. We actually, I was in the back during preaching on Sunday, did a message, and I pulled it up. We were watching it during our service. We have 3 services, so I paid attention. Not that service, but I was like, "Hey, look, it's the Charlie Kirk Memorial." But the moment that struck people, even people on the left or the people that are Democrat or didn't really align with Charlie's what he believed in morals, was when Erica, his wife, came out and said to the shooter of my husband, "I forgive you."
Yeah.
And so I just hope that we remember that's the example that we're to live by. So difficult to do.
That's I can't say I know. I can't say I understand what she has gone through because I've never lost my spouse. But to think that there are people out there that still have hate and all that towards that person or all that stuff that happened, and you have somebody that is in the tragedy that was directly affected by it, that's going up in front of, I don't know, what was it like? It was a bunch of people, went up in front of them and said, "Hey, I forgive you." And I think we miss it. We miss it if we don't see and understand that the person who was actually hurt by this, there are a lot of people that lost somebody they admired, somebody they knew.
Yeah, this is not the first time that's happened.
Yeah, but this is her husband, and she's forgiving this person. I think we would be mistaken if we aren't people that, if something like this happens to somebody that another political party or somebody that stands for something different, and we agree or we say, "Oh, we're glad that person's gone," then we missed everything that Charlie Kirk was about.
Yeah, I wanted to pull something up from Matthew. I have my Spanish translation. That's not going to help y'all. Where verse is that? But yes, it was a moving thing, and it's the parable of the unforgiving debtor. Mm-hmm. And it says, Matthew 18, starting at 21, it says, "Then Peter came to him and asked, 'Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times?' What did Jesus say? 'No, not 7 times, but 70 times 7.
Yeah.
And here's what I want to say, too, is, if Erica Kirk can forgive, and I truly believe she did. I don't think she did it just for show or just to whatever. I think she really did do that.
Yeah.
If she can forgive someone who literally shot and killed, murdered her husband, the father of her children, which is like one of the worst things you can do to someone is murder anybody. If she can forgive the person that murdered her husband, couldn't we forgive each other for these stupid things we say or post online? Yeah. Right? I think some people are missing it when they do what you say about, if you don't agree with this, just unfriend me. Don't even talk to me again. I'm like, wait. What was the forgiveness we were preaching about, you know? And it also just put into perspective how petty some of the things I don't want to forgive people for.
Yeah.
Like this lady literally lost her husband and the father of her children, and she's forgiven that person. I'm like, okay, I guess I can forgive the Chick-fil-A worker who forgot to give me my ranch.
Yeah.
Like
it's definitely something that should challenge us and inspire us to do stuff, to be like that, because she was she said she didn't want to go to heaven and answer for that. She wanted
Yeah.
to know that she was doing what the Bible said instead of just being somebody that says, "Oh, I believe what the Bible says, but I'm not going to live by the 70
Yeah.
times 7." You know?
Yeah, forgiveness is a tough one,
Yeah.
especially for believers, because we want to give into pride so much. You know what I mean?
They stole my seat in church. I always sit there.
Yeah, I thought of another story. There was a guy, I don't remember the details, but there was a guy who wanted to murder his dad. Okay, stick with me. And so he actually staged it. It was like this ABC 2020. You know that show?
Yes.
It's like a special crime one. Do you watch crime shows?
No.
Okay. Is your wife?
No.
Okay. Good. So he wanted to he wanted to kill his parents. Okay. If I remember correctly. And so he had this elaborate plan to stage it. So he was at home with his parents, and the gunman that came in, he told the gunman, "I want you to shoot me in the shoulder to, so people won't think that it was my idea." So he got shot. If I remember correctly, I think his mom did die, but his dad survived. Okay. But he wanted to kill his dad, whatever. So they're in court, and the dad takes the stand. And at this point, they don't know yet that he doesn't know yet that his own son tried to kill him. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So they're there, and his dad takes a witness stand and says, "Whoever this person was that tried to kill me, I forgive you." Jeez. And his son, he doesn't know it, but his son, who was the one that did it, was in that courtroom, and he said the weight on him, it was so much to bear. And later, it was revealed that it was his son, whatever, and he's like, "No, that still stands. I still forgive my son." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, forgiveness is huge. Jeez. And I said this to our church as well. And if you're listening and you're a Christian, I'm assuming you are because you listen to the Restoration Podcast. But the world's watching us. The world's watching our actions, and we need to be Spirit-led, and we need to, read the Word and pray, and not be, influenced by Fox News, CNN, or whatever articles you see online or TikToks or whatever. We need to be anchored in the Word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
be people that actually know what the Bible says, believe what the Bible says,
Yeah.
and do what it tells us to do.
That's right. So hey, if you're listening, go read the Word and apply it.
Yeah.
So
thanks for watching or listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Or if you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, add this show to your library. And if you could drop us a rating or review, that would be awesome. Love y'all. Shalom.